Hello, this is Jeff Simley from the U.S. Geological Survey, and welcome to the Hydrography Seminar Series. This is Session 3, recorded July 30th, 2015. Your hosts for these sessions are myself, Jeff Simley, and Al Ray. The agenda for today is we start off with a brief introduction, and then Anita Storer will talk about putting the NHD to work in the state of Washington. This will be about a 20-minute talk. This will be followed by discussion, questions, and answers, and then that will be followed by two lightning talks. The UFinch Adjusting Unit Flows in the NHD Plus by Dave Oschlag. That'll be a 5-minute talk. And then that'll be followed by Local Resolution NHD Stream Delineation from LIDAR by Susan Phelps. That'll be another 5-minute talk. So the purpose of these seminars is to share success stories from users who have solved real-world problems using hydrographic data. Also, to provide information on the NHD, WBD, and related products. And thirdly, to provide a forum for users similar to what might be encountered in a conference setting. These topics include hydrology, resource management, pollution control, fisheries, emergency management, mapping, and elevation hydrography integration. The formats for these series are use cases, underlying technology, the lightning talks, and collecting feedback from users on these sessions. You can find out more about the Hydrography Seminar Series by looking at the NHD website under the Hydrography Seminar Series tab. That'll give you information about all past and upcoming seminars. Also, you'll find information in the NHD newsletter and mailing list for the NHD newsletter. So if you get the NHD newsletter, you'll get a notification about these. Also, the American Water Resources Association and other organizations will have information about the seminar series. And then contact info from the webinar sign-up, which means that if you signed up for one of these seminars, we'll send you an email letting you know about future sessions. We expect to give these about every 6 to 8 weeks, and after the seminar is over with, there'll be questions and answers that you can ask via the chat feature in the WebEx. So today's seminar is Putting NHD to Work in the State of Washington by Anita Storer. Anita Storer is the National Hydrography Dataset Steward for Washington State. She works in the Geospatial and Environmental Systems Support Unit within the Washington Department of Ecology and coordinates NHD use and improvements on all state and private lands. Prior to her role as the state steward, she worked as a senior hydrologist performing water quality and quantity modeling. So Anita, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Washington State adopted the NHD as its standard hydrography data set in January of 2011. And since that time, the state's focused on associating the highest priority water resources, human health, and fisheries data sets to the NHD. We've also been correcting the largest errors in line work and providing access to a wide variety of users. And Washington has a wide variety of landscapes, water types, and resources, which led to the development and use of many GIS hydrography data sets early on. This first slide shows is a photo of Puget Sound. And Department of Ecology samples water quality here and around the state. In Puget Sound, a float plane is used to collect many of the samples. Sample points are attached to the NHD, but they used to be on our own hydrography layer, which was called WASWIS. Forestry is also a big industry in the state, and our Department of Natural Resources manages forestry. So this photo here shows the Lewis River watershed. They need to know where streams are located to manage riparian buffers and road maintenance associated with logging activities. And they care not only about the large streams, but they care about small streams like this. This is a small headwater stream in the Willapa watershed, and it's called one of our type N headwater streams, and they're important for protecting species such as Pacific giant salamander. And if you go over to the east side of the state, it's a lot drier and there's a lot of irrigated agriculture. And even though when you look from aerial photos that lots of these streams look small to folks, if we go and zoom in, I'm going to zoom into one of these streams at the road crossing. This is what one of those looks like in June of this year. So during snowmelt, those streams get pretty big, and then they'll dry up a lot of times by the end of the year, depending on how much irrigation is being pumped into those streams. We also have a lot of hydropower. So this is the Rocky Reach Dam on the Columbia River in eastern Washington. And we also have small dams that are monitored by our dam safety unit. So this is the Hofer Diversion Dam over in the Walla Walla Basin. It's on the Touchy River over by wine country. And these diversions, even though it's a dam, it's also got a fish passage associated with it. It's got 2 water diversions associated with it and information about screening to protect fish. And then finally, salmon. This is a picture of the Skykomish system and anglers out fishing for salmon on the west side of the state. Salmon also migrate up through the Columbia River, all along here up into the, this is a picture of the Yakima system. So that has fish, that has salmon in it and also is used as a major irrigation source. So having these separate GIS hydrography layers is okay when you're doing separate management, but they're expensive to maintain, and we have a lot of data in common. We had a lot of problems we wanted to solve by having, trying to get our data on the same hydrography data set. So in January of 2011, a bunch of agencies got together and we adopted the National Hydrography Data Set as a state standard. And we're still moving towards there. You know, not everybody's been able to get all of the way there just because it's expensive. But the idea is we're trying to get to maintaining one copy for the state and be attaching individual agency business needs through linear referencing. So today I wanted to just touch on three of our areas: water diversions, fish distribution, and stream order. And everyone wants to know where water's diverted, so that's one of the things we did first. Washington has been moving water rights, points of diversion, and places of use information from paper documents to digital map form for many years. So if you look over on the left here, that's what that looks like. These were needed especially for court cases, adjudications, and to evaluate new water rights and transfers. So these were all on a map with the polygons being where water was used, and all of these little triangles being places, being diversion points. But they were not associated with the NHD, the diversion points, and many of them were only located to the centroid of a quarter section. So if you wanted to know which rights diverted from a particular stream network, for example, you couldn't do that. So if you go over to the right side, this picture is our, this is the NHD. And then these little red dots are the older system, so our GWIS system. So you can see some of those red dots are on the stream, and some are just located like this, a little quarter section that has a whole bunch of dots on it. So if I was interested in knowing what are all the water rights diverted from maybe this stream layer, this stream network here, I wouldn't be able to do it. I could try to select all of those, but I don't know of these, which, if it's really going on this river system or this river system. And although the legal documents, a lot of them had stream names, lots of times those were spelled different ways or they were missing, and there was just really no way to get all the diversions on a particular stream. So we got a grant from the USGS. I mean, not USGS. This one was from actually, it was from USGS, sorry, to go and import those to the NHD. So we use the Hydro Event Management software available through USGS, and this comes as a toolbar. And we imported all of those surface water points of diversion in 25-foot increments. So we used this, we created a feature class from our old points of diversion, which was named this SDE point. And we had a link field, our unique identifier, and then we had our NHD data, our networked data here, and then we set a search tolerant. This says 25 meters, but we actually used 25 feet, and then we pulled in everything that was within 25 feet, snapped it to the stream. And if the stream name from NHD matched the one on our original record, then those were said, this is good, and we're fine to go. Otherwise, if they didn't, that was a manual check. And then we went and saved that 25 feet as an attribute on that database, and then went to 50 feet and pulled the next set in. So we had a measure of kind of how good that
how close that was at the beginning. We manually checked all diversions that didn't have a name match and any diversions that were over than 1,000 feet away, and we also had to manually check all lake diversions. We had problems with springs. Some of the springs were, they were just little dots out next to a stream, and a lot of those, if they were close enough, those diversions were snapped to the end of the closest stream network. There was a lot of research and a lot by Brad Carlson in our Water Resources program to go through and look at the legal documentation to find out where those were. And in the end, we have 37,000 of these located. This is a piece of data that's associated with them. Each of those point features has, of course, a reach code and a measure. They also have a URL that links into our web map that gives you a lot more information about that diversion. It also has a quantity on it down here. So a diversion, the cubic feet per second quantity, and most of you in the West probably know our water law is what's allowed when it was permitted, and it's not the actual amount withdrawn. So you have to know something about our water law in order to use those quantities. We do have a portion of our diversions are metered, have quantity meters on them, and that's what this field is here, reporting status. There's no reporting, or it's metered. And ecology requires metering as a condition for all new surface water rights, and now it does. Originally, it used to be just our larger surface water diversions and diversions from areas that have fish stocks that we're classified as critical or depressed. So I'm going to show you what, and this is the web map that it goes to. If you click that link, you get popped into this, which is called Water Rights Explorer. It shows you where the particular location is, gives you some more information about it, and it also usually gives a list of documents that you can click on. So I can go here, click on the certificate, and get the original document that comes with that water right. We are uploading a portion of these to the national map into the NHD point event feature class layer, and we decided to do just the largest ones because a lot of them are pretty small, and on a national scale that was more important. So we chose ones that had water quantity greater than 10 cubic feet per second, or the quantities greater than 5 cubic feet per second, and meterings required. And then we removed claims that were not metered. Okay, moving on to fish distribution. Salmon and steelhead fisheries in Washington are important for both commercial and recreational users. These fish are co-managed by the Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife and treaty tribes in Washington. This Salmonscape web map was released last year and shows fish distribution that are all located on NHD through linear events. And this is a huge deal. Prior to this project, the State Department of Fish and Wildlife had its own fish distribution on their own hydrography layer called STR-24, and the Northwest Indian Fish Commission had their own fish distribution on another hydro layer called SHEAP. And through a grant with EPA, a team was put together to jointly map this distribution onto the NHD. And you can see there's different distributions depending on which species of salmon you have. So under this map right now is fall Chinook streams. So if we go and we click on spring Chinook streams, it's a totally different type of there's more of them in eastern Washington. Let's see. So where these species live, along with timing of spawning and rearing, affect not only fishing seasons, but it affects logging regulations, temperature and dissolved oxygen limits on point source discharges to those streams, and also timing of construction projects near those streams. And so they've got their distribution, a bunch of attributes. You can get the NHD reach codes, measures for those, and they also continue to store an LLID code, which is a whole stream identifier that's important for them to be able to link back to their historical data. So one of the things that we were able to do, since we had NHD and fisheries on the same map, this is just an example of something that we could do really fast last year, was to be able to produce a web map for water quality grant applicants. And so there was a project where we were soliciting folks that wanted to get grants, and there was a particular buffer requirement for those. So I'll go through. I just kept this one in here for kind of documentation that you guys can read later if you want. But essentially what it was is we needed to put out a map with 4 different groups of buffer requirements. If you were going to apply for grants, this is how big your buffer was going to need to be. And it needed to be something easy that we put up on ArcGIS online for folks to get. And all of these categories, so the 35 minimum buffer, the 50, the 100, could all be derived from NHD and from the fish distribution. So these pieces of it, Category A needed to know constructed ditches, intermittent streams, and ephemeral streams. Those were all in the F code, F type, and NHD. Perennial waters are too. Salmon information, we needed this third category with the wider one were perennial, intermittent, and ephemeral waters that also had fish attached to it. This probably took just a few weeks. The guy, Dustin Dilhammer, in our water quality program put this together. This was a map with just the NHD streams, salmon only, NHD with no salmonids. He combined it together and put it out into an ArcGIS online map with instructions for grant applicants. And those grant applicants could go in, zoom in, had different color codes for the different riparian buffers. Then they could go into their own area and find out, if I'm going to apply for something in this area, that's what it needs to be. It was a real successful collaboration between our agencies to put this out. And the other thing, we had a kind of a side benefit, I guess, from this project is that the interest in, especially in the canal ditch features and making sure those were right, became really important. So we've been doing a lot of irrigation district mapping and recoding because if you were on a canal or ditch, that buffer requirement was smaller. And so that's led to really improving a lot of our F code and F type information. And then our fourth stream order. So Strahler stream order. The states of Washington and Oregon, we calculate Strahler stream order on the high resolution NHD, and we provide that to our state users and to our USGS point of contact to be loaded into the NHD flow line value added attribute table. And people wonder, how did this come about? There was 2 main things. We had a need for stream order internally, and in reality, it was a self-defense mechanism for me because I was being faced with the questions on this slide, and I was a new steward, and actually I was surprised that I was getting these. So if you look up on this area here, this was a slide that I got from the U.S. Forest Service. So the U.S. Forest Service does all of the NHD mapping on the federal lands, and I do it on state and private. And so they sent me there's areas that we call the checkerboard regions where ownership goes in and out of federal ownership, and they kind of want it. They generally have less streams on their maps. And they said, can we delete all of these little black lines? Those aren't really streams. And so that was interesting. And then at the same time, the USGS was going through its network improvement project, which was doing a lot of quality control on flow direction across the country to prepare for a new NHD plus. And this is one that I got from them. Can we delete all these with red X's over them? Because these aren't real streams. And for this one, I looked to see what the aerial photos looked like, and it was like, well, there's all these green areas there. Actually, they might not be super big streams, but they're definitely aquatic habitat. And these little streams originally were pulled in, they were imported from our Department of Natural Resources, our logging, and they do protection of other aquatic species. We pulled all those in because they had said, we only want to be part of this if you have our streams. So we couldn't get rid of those. And then at the same time when I had people trying to remove streams, I had other folks. This is a picture from Clallam County up the Elwha River Basin. And they'd done a really good job of generating streams from LIDAR. And so in this one, the red streams were existing NHD, and the blue were LIDAR generated streams that they wanted to add. And so one of my fears was I'd be deleting the same. I didn't want to be deleting the streams and then having somebody else add the same streams in later. And so I needed to do this. I looked at this. How do we code NHD flow line to accommodate users' needs to see different levels, different density levels, and also to incorporate LIDAR? And I wasn't sure what to do, so I went and took this to our Pacific Northwest Hydro Framework meeting. In Washington and Oregon, the state and federal partners, we meet once or twice a year to go over NHD issues and try to help each other figure out what to do. So I made this slide, and I looked at 5 different ways of coding those lines so that people could choose to see more or less. And I had ones that I called density independent on this side, and I have the density dependent ones on this side. And what I mean by that, if you look at this picture, and you all know this, when you go across lines from like one county or one township to another, or one state to another, people map things at different densities. And so you can go and have an artificial line like right down here where one side is dense and one side is not dense. And so ideally you would have something that would get the same code no matter what your density was. And so first I looked at those. And one value I thought would be great because of my former work doing water modeling stuff was mean annual flow. And this was a value that was available on the NHD Plus data set. But it was only available on the medium resolution, the 1 to 100K data. And it looked good, but it looked like it was going to be years before that came to the high resolution data set. And we needed it on the high resolution data set. I also looked at periodicity. So there's a code in NHD for perennial, intermittent, and ephemeral. But in Washington, we've only used really perennial and intermittent. We don't have good rules for what's ephemeral and what's not ephemeral. And there's also been some kind of legal issues around the use of the word ephemeral, so we didn't have that. The other thing I looked at was there was a group at USGS, Larry Stanislavski's group, that was going through and generalizing, picking streams that would be displayed on the 1 to 24K national map. And I thought, well, that would be great if they're going to select the ones that would appear on a 1 to 24K map. If I could go and select those and run stream order on just those, that would be great. But they weren't really selecting them and then flagging those. They were actually doing a generalization process and selecting them and then removing some vertices, and so it wasn't really something I could select from. So I ended up looking at the density dependent side. I looked at stream level, which was a value in the NHD data model in the value added attribute table, but it had been set up for NHD plus processing, and pretty much everyone said not to use it. So we ended up with stream order. And this was one that was requested by the most users. It was already in the data attribute, in the NHD data model. And Jay Stevens, who works for BLM Oregon, already had a process in place and had run stream order on about half of the state of Oregon. So we just went for it. I said, well, let's just do it. And I did. I was smart enough to ask Jay first, wow, since you've done half of Oregon, do you want to just do Washington while you're at it? And he said, I'll help you get it set up there so you can do it yourself. And so this is what it looked like. This was the before, in HD, and then this is what it looks like with stream order on it. And it might not be perfect, but it sure works for 90% of the problem. And then this is the NHD flow line value attribute table with the permanent identifiers and filled out stream order. And the way we did this is, the process is we run stream order by HUC4 subregion. And so we will go and download a copy from a pre-stage subregion from USGS, and it comes with a flow table, the NHD flow table, and it's all based on this. We copy that over to our server, and I have a little stream order toolbox. I'll run a QA/QC on that to make sure that all the network ends and pour points are valid. And then I run a stream order script that goes and generates this table here, which has stream orders and permanent identifiers. And then I can join my NHD flow line using on permanent identifier and draw it up. And for some basins, that's all that has to be done. In some basins, with a lot of irrigated areas, when the canals cross each other, lots of those can artificially make the streams too large. And these are obvious errors. And so in that case, we go and we make a copy of this geodatabase that we can edit on and go through and delete the flow lines that cause these man-made canals to create incorrect stream orders. So we'll delete those, and then USGS also provides a group of NHD utilities. Then I'll rerun this build flow utility and rebuild the flow table. So when I've done that, I repeat from this above. I'll go and copy that flow table over to our server and rerun it. When we're satisfied that it's complete, I run the final Python script to copy the stream order as a new attribute onto our flow line, and also put it onto the VAA table. And then I share those with Oregon and USGS. And that is the end of Washington's presentation. Are there any questions?
Yeah, so one of the things that we'll do, Anita, thanks a lot for going through that. Very interesting. For the questions, we should have people typing in questions into the Q&A tab, and Al, Ray, and Susan Buto are monitoring that. So Al or Susan, do you have any questions that have come up yet?
None yet. So has everyone found the Q&A tab? If you maximized the screen to see Anita's slides, then you need to kind of go to the top of put your mouse toward the top of the screen on a little pull-down thing will show up, and there's a little Q&A thing there.
While we're waiting for Q&A, I put some acknowledgments on the last page there. There's a list of folks that helped out with the different pieces, and otherwise this definitely wouldn't have happened.
So Anita, we still haven't got any questions in, but this is Al. I'll just go ahead and ask you a little bit about the web map that you put on ArcGIS Online.
Yeah.
So I think you mentioned that in a newsletter, in your newsletter article a couple of months ago, but maybe we could share the URL for that. And could you just talk a little bit about how people are using that?
There was one I mentioned in the newsletter, and that was a different one. The one in the newsletter that I mentioned is our feature service that we put out. So we do have an NHD map cache for the state of Washington that's out there for folks. If you're using ArcGIS Online, you can just pull that straight into any maps you want to use. And then this one that I showed here is a separate web map that was just used for that one project. So we created, we have different, web maps for different uses. And so that one for that water quality buffer one was a separate one. But we do have, what I mentioned in the newsletters, we have a cache, which is really helpful, that many users can just pull in that into any kind of
web mapping software they want to. And we have our hydro and our labels for that separately.
Okay, so looks like Sue's having a little trouble getting unmuted. So I'll go ahead. We have a question from David Anderson who asks, can you share the toolbox that you used for stream order?
Yes, I could. Do you would just like the toolbox and the associated Python code for that?
Mm-hmm.
And that Python code, this is, I don't know, this is kind of, Jay Stevens had gone through and written the original Python code for the stream order. And in Oregon, they use an Oracle system for their SDE database, and so he had done it with that. And then when he transferred the code up to us, we use a SQL Server SDE database. So one of the folks on our staff here, Darby Beek, rewrote that code so that it would work on our system.
Okay, thanks. Any more questions?
Okay, this is Jeff Simley, Anita. I was just following up on the stream order. How do you account for divergences in the network with a Strahler stream order?
Divergences, if the divergences carry the same stream order. So if a stream goes down and it's a 7, it carries through those. So braided streams end up having, the higher stream, or the braids in the stream when they come back, when they diverge and come back together, they carry that same stream order.
Okay. Well, are there any other questions, Al?
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Can you briefly elaborate on legal issues that you mentioned with the use of the term ephemeral?
I was just told not to do it, and it had something to do with our water quality regulations in our state law. So anyway, I was told not to go into it. So not to use it about a year back. So I just didn't. And I think we would start to use it if we had some good rules for figuring out what is ephemeral and what's not. Like if we could go through and have some automated process to say this group is ephemeral, then I would probably go back and say this is what we'll do. I think it had something to do with the description or the definition of ephemeral had something to do with how many days of rain, or it wasn't a math-based criteria at all. It was like you had to use rainfall over a certain number of weeks, and I don't know. It wasn't going to work, and they didn't want me to go there.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, so another question that has come up is, would the presentation be available online? So we will plan to post the presentation on the website for the seminars, which is on the main NHD website. Near the bottom, there's on the left-hand side, there are links on the left-hand side. Near the bottom, there's one for the Hydro Seminar Series. So we'll be posting the presentation there. We're also trying to get recordings posted as well, but that's taking us a while. I know we promised earlier to get the earlier seminars posted, but we have to comply with Section 508, making them accessible in closed captions, and we're having trouble getting all of that done. So it's been a bit of a delay on that. But we will hope to have the recordings out there here, hopefully pretty soon.
Okay, any more questions come in?
Nope.
Okay, good. So Anita, thanks a lot. And once again, as Al just pointed out, this material will be available to you through our website. So be sure to go to nhd.usgs.gov, look for Hydro Seminar Series, and you'll find information posted over the next few weeks on this presentation that Anita gave, so you can learn more about it. And I'm sure, Anita, that you'd be happy if people contacted you personally if they had questions about your work in Washington.
Yeah, that'd be just fine.
Okay. Well, next we're going to move on to what we call a lightning talk, and this is going to be a brief 5-minute presentation. The first one is by Dave Hochschlag. He's a surface water specialist from the USGS Michigan Water Science Center. He holds a bachelor's degree in forestry from the University of Missouri and master's degrees in forest hydrology from the University of Minnesota and system science engineering from Michigan State University. Dave is an accredited professional statistician by the American Statistical Association. As part of his ongoing professional and personal development, Dave has successfully completed 40 courses through Stanford Online and Coursera. He began his career with USGS in 1976, studying floods, and has published 45 technical reports on the survey. So Dave's talk is about UFINCH, a method for simulating and adjusting unit flows in networks of channels described by the USGS, by the NHD Plus geospatial framework using continuous daily flow data at USGS stream gauges. So Dave, go ahead.
Dave, are you muted? Dave, we're not hearing you.
All right, well, if we're not getting Dave on, we can go ahead with Susan Phelps to talk about her talk. So kind of going once, going twice. Dave, are you on? Okay, Susan, how about you?
Okay, I'll switch it over to Susan. And Dave, if you can try and figure out your audio problem while we do Susan's.
Are we hearing Susan?
So Susan, are you on the line?
Just unmute the lecture mode. That might get him back.
What is star 5?
The conference is no longer in lecture mode.
Are Susan and Dave on now?
Yes, we're on. I'm on.
Okay, so everybody, we had to take the conference off of muting of everyone, so if people can please mute your telephone line. We'd really appreciate it. It cuts down on feedback and accidental coughs and dog barks and hold music. So please don't put us on hold if you have hold music, and mute your phone lines. If you can't mute with your phone, you can dial *6 into your phone, and that will mute it on this conference line. Do you want to go back to David or stay with Susan?
Well, we'll go with Dave since we've introduced Dave and got him all set up, and everybody's all excited to hear this. So
Okay.
Go ahead with Dave as soon as we get the first slide ready to go here.
Okay, Dave, I just made you presenter again.
Okay. Okay. Can you see me? See my presentation in here? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Okay. UFINCH is a standalone computer application intended to run on Windows PC. It's written in the MATLAB programming environment, but does not require MATLAB on your local computer to use it. I'm developing a report. It's currently in colleague review. I expect to release it sometime early next year, which will provide the software as well as a report providing documentation. UFINCH is intended to be used for streamflow record extension of daily unit values from a base gauge at the outlet of a basin to the upstream flow lines described in NHD+. Also could be used for hydrograph comparison and record analysis. Flow at the outlet is kind of expected to be representative of water yields throughout the basin. So if we have estuary flows, that would probably be a problem, or if it were heavily regulated at the outlet, it would also be a problem. Testing so far has been on basins that have 3,000 square miles or less drainage area. I'd like to provide an overview of the functionality, the graphical user interfaces, and user options to UFinch. This is the main graphical user interface. User would select the 2-digit hydrologic region, and from this particular drop-down menu, UFinch would then create the map. If you didn't know exactly which region you wanted to use, you could display a map of those regions. You can display the flow lines and stream gauges on the same map, specify a water year to highlight the stream gauges that were active in that water year on the map. Both the flow lines and the stream gauges are in active coverage, depending on the selection of this radio button. If you select stream gauges, it'll give you pertinent information to that stream gauge. If you click on it, the gauging number, name, years of record, some other information you might need. Otherwise, the flow attribute should be displayed. When you select the base stream gauge, it'll highlight that entire network up of the stream gauge that's going to be modeled and indicate the number of flow lines. And this area, you would read 15-minute flow values. If flow value file did not exist on your system, UFinch would go out and retrieve an inventory of daily values at the station that you selected for the base gauge. It would then interpolate that to unit values. Unit is 15-minute values. That particular time increment was chosen because flow lines and velocities in NHD medium resolution usually accommodate at least one time step in that interval.
Can people please mute your phone lines? Or hearing conversations in the background? Thank you.
Then we can you can systematically adjust the velocity and compute travel times within that network, specify a simulation period, and then simulate the flow for that interval. You can select, using the same map interface, a stream gauge, let's say upstream for comparison, and then another interface can be launched for our streamflow comparison. Just a quick comparison. This is some of the graphs that you'll see when you highlight it. This is streamflow HUC4 that can be selected from the 2-digit HUC. The map of that HUC4 and base gauge and some of the other things I've been discussing. This is a map that shows the comparison, hydrographs, the measured flows in blue, simulated flows in red, and there's a statistical procedure you can use to adjust the flows to more closely match measured flows. This shows the effect of that correction on the empirical cumulative distribution function. So, summary, UFinch is highly automated for simulating flows, retrieves information that you're going to need, and computes travel times, simulates flows, and provides a mechanism for adjusting. So potential for water quality, for quality assurance streamflow records and extending streamflow data. So if you have any requests, information, or questions to follow up, I have contact information below. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And we'll just hold the slide up for a second there so people can take a look at Dave's email address. If you have any questions for him, contact him directly or contact us here at the USGS, and we can forward that information off to Dave, and you can learn more about it. We'll also have Dave's presentation posted at the website, so look for that, and you can review the material he just presented.
Okay,
all right. Thanks, Dave. So next we're going to turn our attention to LIDAR-derived hydrography from Susan Phelps. Susan Phelps is a Geographic Information System Manager at AECOM's Raleigh, North Carolina office. She's a certified Geographic Information Systems professional, as well as a certified floodplain manager, with over 15 years of experience in GIS and water resources. Over the last 9 years, Ms. Phelps has served as the NHD Technical Discipline Lead and Assistant Project Manager for local resolution NHD projects in several states, including Indiana, Mississippi, and North Carolina. So Susan is going to talk about local resolution NHD stream delineation from LIDAR-based terrain sources. So Susan, go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. So yes, as Jeff mentioned, I'm going to talk about how we've been using LIDAR to create local resolution NHD. And first I want to talk really briefly about why local resolution NHD is important. What are some of the drivers behind it? First of all, enhanced quality and content of hydro data. It's especially needed at the local level. Also, uniform mapping to support resource and policy decision making across large jurisdictions. And then also we have a lot more capability with hardware and software to help process and analyze these large hydro data sets. And then also the websites to help distribute and maintain that data. And then lastly, we have more accurate framework layers like LIDAR and orthos to help support the creation of local res in HD. Okay, so we talked a little bit about why it's important. Now I want to talk a little bit about the approach that AECOM has used for LIDAR-based local resolution mapping of NHD in North Carolina, Mississippi, and Indiana. So first, obviously, we need to collect all the base data that we plan to use for the project. And if the LIDAR has not already been processed and hydrocorrected, then we will import that data into our proprietary software program called WISE. And that gives us the ability to actually blend different terrain sources and create seamless elevation products on the back end. So we'll import that LIDAR data into WISE, build our TINs, and hydrocorrect the elevation data, at which point we can start to generate our reference files for local res in HD. And those reference files are going to include hydrocorrected dims and hillshades. And then we're also able to generate 6-acre basins and guide streams. And we use those to help with determining the upstream limits and general stream location, basically making sure that we have complete coverage for a basin. And, one thing I want to mention here is that, the 6-acre limit is not set in stone. What works in one state may not work in another. So that upstream limit can be customized to meet whatever the stakeholder needs are. And then there's a quick example under here. This is just, your dims and hillshades, and then I've got some 6-acre basins and guide streams here. And then some other products that we can generate from the hydrocorrected terrain data are flow accumulation grids and flow vectors. We don't typically use those for digitizing the local res in HD, but we do have clients that have found those helpful for modeling purposes on the back end. And so this is just a quick example of a flow accumulation grid that's generated from the hydrocorrected dim. Okay, so we have all of our base data processed for the project, and we're ready to actually start digitizing the local res in HD. And in doing that, we're using the imagery, the hydrocorrected dims, and the hillshades as the primary data source for the horizontal stream location. And then we're also using those LIDAR automated guide streams and the 24K to help indicate where the streams should be digitized and how far up into the basin we should digitize features. And the basic process is we start at the upstream end point of those guidance streams and work our way down to the next confluence. And we work from confluence to confluence, basically until all of those guide streams are represented in the local res in HD. And if we do have local hydro data, if it's accurate enough, we will use that as a basis for our local res in HD flow lines, and then just extend those reaches up to the upstream limit of our guide stream. And then also we want to reference the 24K to make sure that we're capturing all of those streams that are still visible in the imagery and the terrain sources. Okay, so what are some of the challenges that we've seen with LIDAR-based NHD? One of the biggest ones we've seen are the areas where the stream flow has been altered, and these are particularly prevalent in the urban areas and agricultural areas. We found that the guide streams are typically not as accurate in these areas, so we do have to rely more on the imagery and the base dims and hillshades and local data. The good thing about if you have newer LIDAR, your man-made canal ditches will show up a lot better in the LIDAR. And then also, if you have new construction like highways or neighborhoods, those are going to be more visible, but you still may not be able to see where all the pipelines are. And in those instances, the local stormwater data can be very helpful. And that was all I had for today. So I have my contact information here. If anyone has any questions or wants any more information, feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Good. Okay, Susan, thanks a lot. That's a great presentation, and I'm sure that people are going to want to learn a lot more about that. By the way, in case you're interested in seeing the direct result of the work, you can download NHD data over southern Indiana, and it reflects the hydrography that AECOM added to the NHD on behalf of the state of Indiana. So you can directly look at some of those results that way. But if you'd like to contact Susan and or contact us, and we'll get you in touch with Susan if you want to learn more about local resolution NHD derived from LiDAR-based terrain data. So those are our presentations for today. Before we depart, though, we want to have you take a quick poll as to how you viewed this presentation today and suggestions for the future. So there are, I think, three things that we want you to address here. One is which part of the session was most valuable to you, which parts of the session were least valuable to you, and what topics are you interested in learning about more in the future. Speaking of the future, our next seminar is going to be on September 24th, also a Thursday at the same time, 2 o'clock Eastern Time. And our plan is to be talking about spiral modeling. So this involves the transport of nutrients, particularly nitrogen and phosphorus, through the nation's waterways, and how we can model that transport of nutrients using this spiral modeling system. So look forward to that. We hope to have a couple of more lightning talks just to add to the variety of information we're presenting. So ask that you stay tuned for more information about that. You can find out about it through our website. You'll also be receiving an email from us reminding you that there's an upcoming seminar, and also information about this past seminar and how to access the materials that we're posting online. So anything else to add from the team here? I want to thank Allison and Susan and Al. You guys have anything else to add?
So the polling questions should be showing up as a tab on your meeting there on the right-hand side, the upper right-hand side. So hopefully you'll see those and you can answer those. It doesn't look quite.
Well, we have 7 people finished already, so I think we're okay.
Yeah, so we're going to leave this session open now to allow people to take time to fill out the survey here. So we'll give you a little bit of time. Other than that, I think we'll close it for today. Appreciate everybody joining this call. Hopefully you've learned a lot. We've all learned a lot, and appreciate the speakers and all the great work that they've done. Very dedicated to the NHD and to the WBD and to mapping of the United States. And we appreciate all that good work. So thank you, and goodbye.